Reptile Fight Club. Ready to fight? I know I am. I'm Justin. With me here is Chuck. We're going to fight. What's it all about?
Fight me.
What's going on?
Fight me. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Ready?
I came prepared for something.
You're prepared for this one. All right.
For something. No, I came prepared for something. I don't know if I'm ready for this one.
Okay.
We'll see.
That works.
Yeah.
Got a prelay shed from my black-headed python.
What the heck?
That's exciting. Hopefully, do better
Counting
this
down
year.
the days
She's
now.
looking big, so they look like pretty big eggs in there.
Well,
Curious to
fingers
see how
crossed
many
for
she'll
you,
lay.
dude.
Thanks,
Yeah.
man. Think I'm getting it down a little better these days. So hopefully the incubation will go well and figure it out. I'm gonna try a couple things. Hire
like cutting the eggs early.
Yeah. I'm gonna cut all of them all at once.
All of them very early.
No. Gonna try a larger incubation container and
Venting or no venting?
I don't think I'm gonna vent. Maybe once a week, I'll open it up and
just
get
pop
some air
the
exchange.
top and do the air exchange and
I'd like to use the Barker method. I don't know if it's the Barker method if they originated, but they have like the styrofoam boxes with not a box, but like a styrofoam container with a sheet of pane of glass across the top of it, or that's kind of what they use for their incubation. And I think Jordan was telling me that's the way he incubates his black-headed eggs. And
is that like when you I don't know if you don't buy frozen rodents, but usually when I buy frozen rodents from
what
they come in like those styrofoam cool boxes, boxes.
Things,
you just kind of, and then you just half it and put a piece of glass over the top of it. Cool.
I need to see if I can find one that'll fit nicely in the incubator, so I don't have to find. I don't know. It's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
What
do you do? Yeah.
I would like a bigger incubator, like a walk-in would be nice, like some of these guys have, but I don't think I'd ever make a use of a walk-in incubator.
Yeah.
It's just too much space. I don't need that much space. But I did see there were some new incubators being advertised at one of the shows. Who was it? Mike Wilbanks, I think, was making incubators now. They look pretty sweet. They're
cool.
What do you call them? Some kind of. You can look it up real quick. But they looked pretty nice. They're a little out of my price range, I think. Right
Plastic
now,
or metal or what are they?
They looked plastic. Yeah, but they looked like they were. They're designed for reptiles. He has a bunch of different sizes. Mm-hmm. He calls them Wilbanks homeostatic incubators. And, I haven't used this product, so I'm not necessarily endorsing it, but I just thought it was interesting.
Interesting.
He's got some that'll hold a couple clutches all the way up to, more clutches.
Yeah,
I think the smallest one holds 5 ball python clutches, and the largest one holds 64 ball python clutches.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
that's a big incubator.
Yeah, it's like I guess it doesn't say the size on the size.
64.
Anyway, I don't know why we're doing it. Brought to you by Wilbanks. Homeostatic
my mutton powerlifting gloves.
Yeah, Mutton's Choice. That was great to get that endorsement from Mutton's Choice.
I've been
going for that for a while.
Yeah, no, I didn't even know that he was putting out sponsorships. It was a pleasant surprise. Thank you.
Have you ever heard the word homeostatic? Do you know what that means?
Homeostatic? Yeah, like homeostasis?
Well, yeah, homeostasis, but what is he homeostaticing? The temperature, the humidity, I guess, everything?
Yeah, I mean...
It maintains the set temperature without regard to external temperature. Isn't that what all incubators do?
Well, within...
It says it heats or cools depending on external factors. It says it maintains set temperature without regard to the external temperatures And then in the next sentence it says, depending on external factors. So is it independent or without regard or with regard?
So my guess is that it probably pulls air from the outside to cool. But if outside is hotter than inside, then you might have. That's what I wonder. You might have some issues.
If he has a cooling mechanism in there, then maybe that price would be not too bad. I guess that would be like a wine cooler or something, don't they? Like or heat, depending.
That's like a whole. I mean, you gotta have a condenser, and I mean that's a.
Yeah. But they kind of look like those, like a Pepsi fridge type thing, you know?
Yeah.
Metal with the glass door. But it looks like the whole glass door opens, you know, all at once. So
that's sweet.
I don't know. Interesting. Yeah, they look pretty sweet though. I wouldn't mind having one in my reptile room.
I still like Ed Bradley's. He has like a 50s style, 40s style fridge. It's like immaculate condition that he breeds, that he bred chondros in, which is just like, it's so cool, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got an old freezer that we pulled out of the lab that I converted into an incubator.
Nice. So, nice.
Works out pretty well.
It's
like the 64 ball python clutches incubator is $4,000. So, yeah. A little pricey.
Well, I guess if you're incubating,
you got 64 ball python clutches.
I mean,
you can afford the $4,000, right?
You would think. I've heard the ball python market is not doing as hot as it was, so maybe 64 clutches is a lot of problems right now.
But I don't know how we got on that topic.
Yeah, no, you totally got us on that.
Incubators.
You did.
Incubating. That's why.
You did. Yeah.
So I got to plug in my incubator, get it ready for those eggs. I want to get like the container all ready to go. I'm hoping she's not going to lay while I'm gone, but it might fall.
Oh my God.
While I'm out of town again. But I've got Summer. She was the reason that it worked last year. She was there to collect the eggs, and she was there when they hatched too. So like I was gone on 2 separate trips for both those events. So Summer is definitely my little herp helper, but she's kind of slowed down. She's getting into those teenage years where she's other interests, It's like, she did come out a couple weeks ago, but she's been a little sparse when it comes time to going out there. But I think she's
the teenage years strategy, trying to keep
we got the reptile show coming up in Salt Lake, so she's going to help me with that. And that's like the weekend after I get back from France. So see how that goes. But yep. Yeah. So what else anything else going on? I know I've got a couple other snakes that are pretty far along, gravid wise. They look like they're going to lay fairly soon. So, we'll see. My reptile room's starting to heat up a little bit with those additional cages I've got in there, and so we'll see if spring has sprung in my reptile room, and we'll see if stuff starts laying. See, it's interesting that those blackheads are kind of go pretty early. I thought they were going early until Lucas got Woma clutches a couple weeks ago. So he's definitely ahead of me, I know. I think it's kind of nice, though, because if you can get those early clutches, it gives you kind of an advantage. You got time to get them feeding and all that good stuff. And then, not that it's hard with Womas, but with blackheads, it's very difficult. So, so we'll see how that works out for him. He'll be sold out by the time anybody else hatches any. But
well, and he's got some pretty nice. He probably shouldn't have any trouble getting rid of his.
Yeah, right.
His Womas. He's a womanizer.
But I mean, if he's going to follow that, Alan Rapace, he needs to hold some of those back and diversify and expand and have a bunch of different.
Maybe not Burke the whole thing, but
there you go. All right. Well, today we're talking about grabbing or not grabbing. Keep your damn hands off her, Biff.
Biff.
All right. So let's see. You want to take the Biff approach or the?
You are my density.
What's his name?
Marty. Marty McFly.
Well, no, his dad. What's his dad's name?
Oh,
Marty McFly's dad. Because he's the one telling Biff to get his hands off it.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
George McFly.
George McFly.
George, how did I not? Yeah.
How did I forget that? Good thing you're here, man. I just want to lose my...
I don't know. I mean,
My brain doesn't... You're half of my brain, apparently. All right.
I don't know if that's a ringing compliment. We're struggling. We're doing the best
George
we can.
McFly. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So, we're going to talk about when you're out herping, should you grab them and, take a winker shot and, manipulate them, or just kind of observe them from afar and let them kind of do their thing, maybe witness some natural history. So
from a distance.
There we go. Let's fight, huh?
Are we flipping?
I'm flipping. You ready to call?
Tails.
It's heads.
Whoa!
Oh my goodness. That's
2 weeks in a row.
I'm on a streak here. I think it's longer than that. Isn't it? Did you beat me before that?
I think might have won the last one, or not the. So you won the last one, and I think you might have won the one before that.
Yeah, because you fought our last guest, didn't you? Mm-hmm. Did you fought Eric or yeah, right? Eric Summer.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because I fought Mitchell.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Well,
that's right.
Guess it's only a 2-week streak. All right.
Yeah. Well,
I'll be okay with that.
Better than
hydration. Did I win? I think I won the hydration one too.
Oh yeah. Anyway. That might have been what it was.
We're
I don't know what's happening anymore. Senility setting in.
Well, I won. That's all that's important.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, so I'm going to take the not grab attitude this time around.
So I got to take the grabby hands.
You're Biff in this one. Oh, I'm George. I'm going to smack you around if you don't get your grubby hands off those herbs. Okay. Well, lead us
think,
out.
Think, McFly. Think.
I'm going the check route and letting you take the leads.
What are you looking at, butthead?
That's a good one. If you haven't seen Back to the Future, all you young whippersnappers out there,
right.
That's a classic. That's a fun one.
Definitely. It started people actually wanting to buy Toyota trucks.
Yeah. Though what's Marty's real name? I can't.
Michael J. Fox.
Michael J. Fox. He was in Teen Wolf, right?
Well. That's true.
And Teen Wolf 2, TOO, was on TV the other night. And so I watched part of it's like
good.
The exact same movie, with Jason Bateman instead of Michael J. Fox. It's like, why did they think this was a good idea and this was going to go over well? Everybody saw right through it, I guarantee. Like, okay, it's the same story, different guy, kind of stupid. So
I feel like that's what we're doing these days. We're just like... we can't come up with an original. There's never going to be another archetypal like an Indiana Jones or a Rambo or right. They're just going to.
Everything's a remake these days. It seems. Yeah.
It's nobody wants to take a risk on original thought and fucking
I mean, there's a few here and there, but
it's all in smaller production companies where they're like Netflix and that's where
services.
And I even feel like in like Netflix and Amazon Prime and all those productions, like they run them for like 1 or 2 seasons and then they cancel them, and it's like
there's no
I was just
15 season thing.
I was kind of like, okay, I kind of wanted to see how this was going to go, but they're always canceling them, and I'm just like, I'm kind of like, it's hard for me to want to invest. Like I'm a bingey kind of person. But it's hard for me to want to invest. And, now they're starting to like, not give you the whole season in one shot. Right. Yeah, so they're like, we're going to tease this out, which probably good for them. But
are
you guys Did you check out the new Mandalorian yet? I guess that's out.
Not yet. I'm kind of behind on the Star Wars shows. My family won't watch them with me, so really? It's like I have to monopolize the TV and listen to them whine. So I'm just like, it's easier just to.
I like the Mandalorian. They did good too. With that, and I didn't hate Andor.
I haven't seen that one. Yeah,
I heard somebody say that by all these spin-off shows that they're ruining the mystery of Star Wars.
They're diluting it out.
Which I guess I totally see that as a kid who saw Empire Strikes Back in the theaters. Like,
I like all the other details and because they've had all those books and stuff. So.
And I also think some people underestimate the nerdism that's out there when it comes to stuff like that. So fair,
I started watching that Lord of the Rings spinoff too, or the
Rings of Power.
Rings of Power. I watched the first. Right. It was kind of slow the first episode anyway, so I was like, I don't know, this is kind of slow, but it was all right. It was well done, It was cool.
Yeah.
We started a new, this is way off topic, but we started, you're just delaying, aren't you, the start? But we started watching a pretty funny show on Apple. It was, now I can't even think of it, Therapized or something like that. It's got Jason Segel and Harrison Ford.
Really?
It's really good. Like
Harrison Ford in a funny role?
He's pretty good. Like he's pretty humorous, but Jason Segel's likable. I don't know. I think I like him.
I just feel like every time I've seen Harrison Ford in real life, he's just seems like he's such a grumpy bastard.
Oh yeah, that's what he plays in this too.
That's what he plays.
Grumpy old man. So
perfect. Yeah. Right.
But he's funny. He's pretty good in this.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Anyway. All right. No more delay.
So he does get off my lawn.
80s show.
Yeah.
Come on,
cool.
Biff. Right. Let's get this going.
What are you looking at, butthead?
You want that waxed? Right. I got your truck waxed, Marty. We're gonna turn you into the nice Biff after this one. No.
I don't think so. Just don't crash me into the truck full of horse manure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm grabastic. Yeah, I'm grabby. All right. So am I as to assume that I am leading this out as well?
Yeah. Right. I thought I made that clear.
I don't know that me and the audience caught that. Yeah.
Okay.
It's oh, there it is. There's Sweet Lady DDP.
I'm ready.
All right.
I'm prepared.
All right. So I guess I will preface my lead out by saying it sort of depends on where you're herping and what you're herping for. Because I think that there's some reptiles. Crocodiles. Yeah. You do not want to be grabby when you're hunting crocs in Florida, or when you're
another tangent. Did you see that somebody got eaten by a crocodile? They hung up their towel on a no swimming warning, crocodiles here sign, and they got bit, right? So, of course they had to destroy the crocodile because some moron couldn't read a sign that he put his towel on.
Well, how was he supposed to read the sign with the towel on there, dude?
He covered up the warning. It's not his fault. Stupid people.
The crocodile ate him and was like, "What are you looking at, butthead?"
And why do we feel the need to go kill the crocodile? Like, the dude deserved it. Frankly, if you're going to ignore a warning sign, if you go and electrocute yourself on a fence that says high voltage danger, and then all of a sudden your family comes and says, we're going to sue you because our person died on your fence, or, I don't know.
I guess my thing is like, okay, if
okay, anyway, tangent over.
I'm just saying if we could actually prove that now the crocodile craves human flesh like a fucking zombie or something, and you'll never keep it away from populations. It'll be just running through the street eating children, people. And if that was something that was of concern, okay, I get that. But, I mean, clearly that crocodile was down to eat anything that would throw a towel over a sign that said, be careful, right? Like,
I mean, we need to let, I mean, that helps the gene pool. I think if you're going to eat somebody who's going to, now saying that, I guess me and Rico and a couple others swam, and Alan Rapashi, we were swimming in a little creek where it had a warning crocodile sign, but the water was very clear. We could see, it was pretty shallow, but I don't know. I didn't stay in very long.
I also feel like you knowingly saw the sign and you made a conscious choice as informed consumers of swimming area.
But if we would have gotten eaten, would we have called for that crocodile to be killed?
To be fair, maybe that guy was like, he ain't scared of no crocodile. Threw his fucking towel over that shit and is like, I'm going swimming. And he made a bad decision, right? Like, so, I mean,
but
look,
the
you can't take
for that.
Risk out of life. Like, if you go into the water and you get bit by a shark, like, you know why sharks don't come on land? Because people kill them when they do, right? Like that, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I get it. They didn't do so well on land, but I'm just saying, when you go into another apex predator's territory and you have a negative outcome, why would you be shocked about that? Like, why
would you try to take it out on the animal? I don't know. Goes back to our pioneer roots, where we have to get rid of all the big predators that can hurt us, and then all of a sudden the prey explosion occurs, and you got deer dying because there's no cougars to eat them or something.
Cougars? All right.
Cougars. All right. So, no more stalling.
Where was
Grab away. Keep grabbing.
So I was just saying that I think grabbing is fantastic unless it's a rattlesnake and it'll bite you, or a crocodile that'll bite you, or...
Hey, no, that guy that I saw down in Ocotillo, he was holding that Sidewinder.
And I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that's a good idea.
Real men of genius,
Real men of genius.
And he got bit, and now they went down to destroy all the Sidewinders.
So I was listening to Phil and Nipper, Nipper unfortunately had an unfortunate run-in
incident
with Phil was just kind of running down some of the costs. I mean, I knew it was a lot, but
not in England. I mean, they have
universal. We can't all be as great as Nipper and have socialized.
You don't want to get bit here. It's going to.
We have burritos. That's what we got. We got burritos, and that's why he's like, "Fuck burritos. I'll take socialized medicine," because he did not get stuck with a giant vet, but which is amazing. And I actually think we socialize all kinds of things in this country, like. The VA is socialized, so nobody's complaining that vets shouldn't get socialized VA medicine. Anyway, I digress. I just think, like, with the cost involved and the potential for, permanent damage, and it's just not, handling some...
You're arguing my point. Handle.
Yes. I'm prefacing. Stop. I'm not arguing. I'm prefacing.
Keep going.
We need a distinction there. So, but other than that, like, a lot of animals don't sit still. They're going to run for it. And if you know what you're grabbing and you're Coach Whippy fast, I say go for it, because, I think, as long as you're not hurting the animal, a wanker shot never killed anybody. It may be, I shouldn't say that. I'm sure wanker shots have killed people before, but that is to say that I don't, other than, it kind of you being like the prototypical human who's just grab nature and take a picture of it and post it on Instagram, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, I don't know. I enjoy looking at your photos, and you had to wanker shot those things. And, that's kind of how we document our experiences, and we interact with things. And that's part of herping. That's part of going out, having that experience with that animal, setting it down and letting it go on its way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and I think there's nothing wrong with that, and you should have that experience. I just think that there's, you know, you gotta know your customer, right? Like I don't think that that rattlesnake we found that morning in the desert, in the high desertish area, and was that, well, were we in New Mexico or was that Arizona? New Mexico-ish area?
I think that was technically New Mexico.
We were borderline
right
somewhere.
Border. Yeah.
But that thing was big and it was pissed. And
yeah.
It
kept wanting to go under the car.
Oh my God. And it was a handful on a hook like that. Yeah. I mean, you know, and if that thing had bit one of us,
yeah.
Forget it, dude. That would have been game over, man. Game over.
It would have been a rough ride to the hospital 2 hours away.
God, I couldn't imagine. And so I think, you know, responsibly speaking, you just, it's not worth screwing around with. And, you know, you listen to Nipper, and if you guys haven't listened to that episode, listen to it. I think it's the most recent Venom Exchange Radio. It was a great episode. Nipper did a really good job. I'm really sorry to hear that happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, Nipper's not a reckless guy. He's not a willy-nilly dude. And, you know, he made a mistake, and, you know, he recognized it, and thank God he's okay. But, you know, it can happen. So, you know, if you don't know what you're grabbing, don't grab it. If you don't, you know, like I would be extremly nervous in Australia grabbing some snakes, because they've got a lot of different elapids there, and I don't know, I don't know all of them. So it's like,
well, we were up in Iron Range and night herping, kind of looking for green tree pythons, you know, along the. Mm-hmm. There was a area where juveniles were purported to hang out because it was kind of on the forest edge. So we were walking along, and I saw this dark snake, and it was like kind of slithered past me, and I was like, my first instinct was to try to grab it, and I'm like, wait a second, I'm not. I mean, you know, it doesn't have a rattle, it must be safe, but I'm not in Utah anymore.
Yeah, and that's exactly.
Yeah, that could end poorly.
Yeah. I mean, so, you know, I think knowing you got to know your customers.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, that's probably how I'd start. Just my prefacing, my obvious prefacing.
Well, let's move on to a more enlightened state. So, you know, once you've grabbed everything, you got your selfie for your get your likes on Facebook and Instagram. Yeah. Once you're beyond that and you're just herping to enjoy the reptiles rather than get famous, you know.
This is the Buddhist shit right now.
Yeah. Says the guy who posts all this stuff on all this herping stuff on Facebook and Instagram. But, you know, I think there can definitely be some benefits to observation. Now, we're not the most patient, you know, people, especially when you're paying a lot of money to go to a different state or country to herp, you know, look for reptiles, you know, you're going to want to get a picture of them. You're going to want to interact. Maybe this is more for like, if you're herping local, you're seeing stuff that maybe you've seen quite a bit and you know where to find them. It's not hard to find, you know, you go to their spot where you're guaranteed to find a big chuckwalla, you know, go watch the chuck, and, you, take a pair of binoculars, you sit down in the shade of a big rock, and you watch the chuckwalla and just watch it.
I'm just prefacing. I feel like you're really whittling now. You've got your knife. You're whittling this argument.
This is a well crafted argument. You know?
I see that.
But I see that. You know, you're gonna see its natural behaviors. You know, unobscured. What's the word? Unmolested by a human. You know, see what it does when it's just hanging out. Now, you know, there's probably some that lend themselves to this kind of thing more than others, but like I was what was I listening to? Oh, it was that Clubrids and Clubroid radio where they were talking with Connor Wardle, and they were talking about watching some kind of coach whip and it was hunting, right? It was following something. And so they just sat back and watched this thing, and it would come and periscope and look for, its lizard prey, and then it would try to chase it down, and the lizard would run out in front of it, and it'd have to stop and look around. But they got to watch it like periscope and, chase down the lizard. And, I don't think that's kind of where our knowledge base comes from, right? Is people making observations. Now, we were hiking through, the Utah desert, and we saw, I came around around a bush or something, and there was this leopard lizard perched up on top of a cactus, and we scared like some small whiptail or something, and it ran past the collared, and the collared lizard was full on going to jump down and grab that lizard and probably choke it down. They can eat pretty good sized lizards. So, but we kept walking and before we realized what was going on, but we disturbed, and then he saw us and he stopped and ran the other way. So we didn't get to see that natural history event, but he was going for that lizard that we spooked, so, I think if you kind of can set up, especially with lizards, But
if you cause the start of the interaction and you ruin the interaction, doesn't that
right.
cancel it
negative, out? Yeah, it cancels it out.
Yeah,
that one's canceled out. Yeah. But I mean, if we could have set up a blind or something and watch that leopard lizard, hunt, that would be kind of cool. And just, maybe see him catch a meal or something, Snakes, yeah, they're not as, maybe, with some exceptions, like, the coach whip example is maybe something you could observe and watch a coach whip from a distance, follow him and see what he does and see what he's hunting and things like that. That would be kind of cool. But I think, the naturalist side of me wants to go out and observe what they're doing. Now, the impatient side of me says, I want to picture that coach whip. I want to see it up close, so I'm going to grab it and hold on to it and put it next to the tree so we can get some in situ photos, of it in the tree that we found it in or whatever. And, I think sometimes that impatient part of us wins out, but I don't know. Another example, I think, of just sitting back and watching natural behaviors, we were walking through a gorge in the Pilbara in Western Australia. And my wife and I, we were actually having an argument because she didn't want me going into the gorge at night by myself and leaving her, at the car or whatever. And so I was like, I'd be fine. She's like, no, it's too dangerous. You can't do that.
Another tire.
You can't tell me what to do. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And then we come around kind of this little rock ledge, and there's a Varanus hammersliensis, the southern Pilbara rock monitor, right, cruising along a rock. And I'm like, oh, time out. We can finish this later. I'm going to, I need to see this, And there's not a very great chance you're going to catch that lizard. They're agile. They just climb up the rocks like nothing. Although Steve did get hands on one. That's probably not the best thing to put out there because I think it's technically illegal to grab reptiles in Australia, so I didn't say that. We don't know which Steve we're talking about. So anyway, I just sat and watched this thing. I mean, it was hunting. I saw it catch a spider and, gulp down a spider. I think I even videoed it. So I was videoing while it was doing its daily routine, crawling around on the rocks, hunting, and then it would stop and bask. And so I got all this behavior on camera, so that's maybe one way we can kind of have that interaction without getting hands on the animal, is just sitting back and kind of documenting, nature documentary style, watching their behaviors. I think that can lead to just as rewarding an interaction where you're not disturbing the animal and their behaviors. Now, granted, this was in a well-traveled, gorge where a lot of people go, and it probably is used to people walking back and forth past its house, and so it may not have been as wary as other populations of the same lizard, So maybe in places like that, in parks in Australia, you can watch the water dragons get pretty close to them, whereas in the bush, they're just going to take off and dive into the water, So
right.
sometimes those places might lend themselves to that kind of thing, being able to see their behavior where they don't see you and just freeze and hide, So I don't know. I think that's really rewarding, and then you get to see what its daily routine entails, and you can kind of get to know the animal. Yeah. But if you grab it, it's over. That kind of thing is over. It's just going to dart for the closest point of security where it's going to wedge itself until all the danger is gone.
But you do grab those things and when to document them on some of your herb trips, right? Like you do
sure.
that.
Yeah.
And going on herb trips and sharing what you found with other people is part of that experience, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So there's an unequivocal coupling of both wanker handling and letting the animal do its thing.
Yeah.
So I definitely understand that. You give the animal its distance, you let it do its natural behaviors. Maybe you photograph it from a distance or video it from a distance. But once that animal realizes you're there, aren't you affecting the natural behaviors of that animal?
Could be, yeah.
Potentially, or maybe not. Could. Maybe you being a predator there, the animal's doing exactly what it should be doing, is being wary of the food monkey, right? Like,
and that this video camera I had a pretty good zoom on it. Like it was like 100x zoom, so you could be like pretty far away.
Zoom, and a zoom.
Yeah, and it wasn't too expensive. It was like a little Canon handheld, not the necessarily like the 4K quality or anything back then, but it was good enough. The YouTube video I put up of the rock monitors of Australia or whatever, that was taken using that camera, and so I got some pretty good footage of the lizards kind of doing naturalistic things. So, but yeah, I mean, I wasn't completely sure that my presence there wasn't affecting their behavior in some way. But, if you can kind of hang back and video from a distance, you're probably going to have much less chance of disturbing their natural behavior than you are if you're getting hands on them.
Oh, excuse me.
Biff.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I get that's, sure. I think, likely you're probably going to try and do both, right? I mean, you're going to try to let them do their thing, and you're going to try to pick them up and get some shots and place
I think I think it depends on who you're with too, because one of our members of the trip really wanted to grab everything, right? So he was catching everything we saw, and actually posting like those pictures of him holding the animals, or at least those close-ups where on Facebook, and that kind of may have led to us getting searched and things like that. So, there's other repercussions for handling things and showing that
sure.
off. But, it's definitely a way we interact with the animals. And he just said, I don't know what it is. I just feel like I need to, get it in hand and inspect it closer. And, you can see kind of details and things. And so, that's not the worst thing, and as long as you're not hurting the animal, they're probably just fine to be manhandled a bit. But as long as you don't go the Biff, level.
Yeah, you don't want to be in the parking lot at the Enchantment Under the Sea dance.
Exactly.
Yeah. That is not Earth Angel.
That's right. You'll get a punch. You'll get socked in the mouth.
That's right. George doesn't fuck around when it comes to that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I do think that some, even though we got up close and personal with one of the Hammersleensis monitors that we saw, I think I've seen a total of 3 of those, of that species. And the first one I saw, I just hung back, video recorded it doing its thing, and then I climbed up kind of close to it to get, still photos, and it didn't seem too fazed by me because I didn't get within its, danger zone or whatever, wherever, its flight zone. And so,
just kind of keeping an eye on you.
Yep. And kind of hung out there. And then if I would get too close, it would move a little further away, but he knew he could dust me on those rock faces. There was no chance. Now the one we got hands on, we got nice close up photos, but I still think I like some of the pictures that I got of the ones kind of in the natural setting, just kind of doing their thing, and they look cool.
And I think like sometimes, you know, I mean, I know certain times we've kind of found stuff and where we kind of found it was not really a great place to take a photo of it, right? Like, so, you know, as much as you're kind of like, post photos, you know, it's kind of, you know, like you find something on the road. Is that what you want to photo of a road there? Or maybe, you know, one, you move it off so it's not in the middle of the road.
Oh, yeah.
You get yourself out of the road. Watch out for those scary cars. And, you know, maybe you can get a nice kind of natural backdrop when you're photographing the animal and do the animal a service, you know, getting it out of roadkill danger.
Definitely. I think that's probably the best argument for getting stuff off the road, which is crazy because it's technically illegal in a few different spots. I believe Texas, you can't take things off the road. You know,
Texas likes to kill shit. They're like, no,
you're not supposed to road cruise or manipulate animals that are on the road, which is insane to me. Like, get them off the road. But I guess that, you know, safety issue or something. If you're out trying to get a snake off the road, you might get hit by a big semi or something. But yeah, getting things off the road is definitely a reason to handle or to, you know, manipulate the animal. Preferably, you know, using a hook, of course, with venomous species or something. But and obviously, you know, a lot of reptiles like junkyards and hiding under artificial cover, which, like you said, doesn't make for a great photo. You know, people want to see them in their natural habitat, not in their, you know, in
people don't want
where you found them.
They don't want the mental of wildlife living in their trash, their discards.
Yeah. So we set up little, you know, little spots near where we found them to kind of and coax them into those areas, you know. Yeah. Because, you know, there's a lot of species here that are protected as well, and you're not supposed to be using a hook or trying to manipulate them in any way. So obviously know the laws. That's probably another reason not to handle is if it's illegal, don't mess with the laws, because we heard a story from Dustin that one of the guys he knows down in Arizona that does a lot of herping was up looking for price eye for the twin spot rattlesnakes. And during, they're highly protected. You're not allowed to mess with those at all. And,
can't even get on the talus where they're, a lot of them.
And this kid had tongs and he grabbed the snake and he held it up and he said, "I got a price eye." And out of the bushes came a wildlife agent and slapped him a pretty big, hefty fine. Yeah. It was a big fine. So that's another reason, you know the laws and know which ones you're allowed to handle if you're thinking about handling. And keep your damn hands off the ones you're not allowed to.
Yeah, certainly that is a good reason not to have your hands up Lorraine's skirt. When the wildlife officer shows up, because that's not good.
It is not.
I mean, and I think that's probably, you know, a really good point for you is if you don't handle it, you can't get fined. You know, but at the same time, like, you know, you probably could get in trouble just photographing it. You know, like, I could see them. I could see a conservation officer, you know, being like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Like, "Well, we're not touching it." "Well, I don't care. You want to,
disturbing
you know,
it.
I don't see you touching it, but if you don't leave right now, I will just fine you." You know, so I do kind of feel like on one hand, like, yep, you're 100% right. You won't get that ticket if you're not touching the animal. But at the same time, you know, I don't think most, conservation officers really need to have you with the goods in your hands to kind of be like, "Get the heck out of here, you filthy kids."
Yep. Yeah, I mean, if they sense any kind of intent to collect, or, you know, if you had no interest in collecting it,
and
if
they
have tongs and a bag
very broad
or things
power,
like that,
they have very broad power, and you know, like, it's just. You know, you hear a lot of stories about game wardens that just, you know, didn't like it and seized all their shit, and you know.
I'm glad that one, the price eye that you found, was happy enough to just kind of crawl out and curl up by a rock and, you know, go down a little rock crack where we could photograph it without messing with it, you know. Yeah. That's hard to find, you know. So we got pretty lucky.
For sure.
And the one that Steve found was basking on a rock, for crying out loud. It was in shed, so it probably couldn't see us coming very well, but so, you know, we definitely want to maintain and uphold the laws of the land and not handle if we're asked not to handle. But I know sometimes those laws are a little loose. I know in Australia we handled a lot of things, even though it's technically illegal, and you see the Australians, you know, handling things that are technically illegal. And, you know, I don't think I've ever run into a you know, patrol, wildlife officer.
I mean, you know, how
I've gotten pulled over by Border Patrol a few times, but never like a wildlife agent.
U.S. Border Patrol?
Yes.
Okay. Like, really? That's weird.
When you're cruising roads down by the border, you get pulled over.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. I just, you were talking about Australia, and I'm like,
we did get followed by a military helicopter in Australia. That was
they were fucking with you.
Spooky. Oh yeah,
they were fucking with you.
It scared us too.
Oh yeah,
Should we get out of the car? Are they going to gun us down? Like, what's going on?
Helicopter pilots love to do that shit.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Made for a good story anyway.
Oh yeah, you're somebody's story, that's for sure.
Yeah. Now we had a story to match, so that was
fair.
Good.
Fair. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I also like that story where we were cruising around in Western Australia again, looking for stuff, and I saw this snake on the road doing, you know, it looked weird, like it was doing something strange, and so I stopped the car and I get out and I see this mulga, and he's eating a death adder that's been road killed and stuck to the road, you know, and he's trying to peel this dead snake off the road to eat it. And you know, I got out of the car and I'm all excited. I'm like, it's eating something. This is cool, you know. And so I'm taking pictures and trying to get some video of it, and it gets spooked, and so it spits it out and takes off. And I'm like, crap, I felt kind of bad. So I got my hook and I put the death adder on the hook and walked over to where the mulga went and put the death adder in front of it, and it started eating it again. So I got to get some good pictures of it feeding. I actually put one of those in the book. But so,
point for me.
You know, sometimes disturbing them, can lead to some cool stuff too. So I'm not saying that disturbing an animal is always going to result in bad things, but that was kind of a fun thing to witness, and I wouldn't have witnessed it if I would have just let it, you know, go off on its own, and maybe it would have come back, but that's kind of dangerous too, to try to eat something on the road with all the, you know, the mining trucks driving in and out of those back roads in Western Australia. So I don't know. Another fun thing was video recording shingleback skinks following each other in pairs and watching them just kind of cruise across the desert, you know, male following a female. That was pretty fun to watch from a distance. And, you know, if you get too close to them, they do their whole defensive routine or take off for the nearest cover or whatever. So, although seeing, you know, like a frilled lizard do its frill rather than sit on the side of a tree is a lot more fun for pictures, you know. So I definitely, there's another point for you. You know, you get those kind of defensive postures are much more engaging than like their cryptic.
And you don't necessarily have to pick the animal up to do that.
That's true. You know, I mean, but you do kind of disturb it enough to freak it out to frill up or Same with, I guess, a rattlesnake, you know, rattling and kind of making that defensive posture that they do so well. So, but, you know, I think the more experiences, the more you see them, the more experiences you can potentially gain. Sometimes you can get up close and maybe disturb them a little bit for closer pictures, and other times you can hang back and kind of observe them from afar and see what other behaviors they might show you. So
yeah.
Any other good reasons you can think of to grab something?
I am running out of reasons to grab something.
I guess if you're making a scientific study or something, you gotta.
That's fair. Yeah, there you go.
Measure them and to maybe take a blood sample or a toe clipping for DNA.
Brain. Yeah, I needed a science brain here. Yeah, stat sig. Yeah.
It's hard to get a sample without picking them up or doing some kind of drift trap or something like that. So
right, yeah. Fair.
All right. One other thing I thought of as a con to handling or grabbing stuff is disease transmission. Even going into the environment, like chytrid was spread all over the world, on boots. That unbeknownst to the scientists.
That's one of the primary transmission methods. Interesting.
Yeah. So they would be in an area where chytrid was found, and then they would wear the same boots on their trip to the Amazon or wherever they went, and so local populations of amphibians declined after the introduction of chytrid. And it took, decades to figure out what was going on and why they were disappearing.
People fucking things up? No.
Well, and this was a case where they weren't trying to, they were trying to.
I know,
be responsible. Who would think to dip your boots in bleach to go look for amphibians, So that's a tricky one.
Wash your dirty shoes, you nasty scientists.
Get your damn boots off there.
Get your damn boots off her, Biff.
But that's been a sad thing.
They just wore those inflatable Nikes that he had in the second one. Maybe the chytrid thing would have been no issue.
That's right. I forgot that.
Very, very high dollar shoe.
Stuff.
I mean,
good stuff.
If scientists had a better sneaker game, I think that's what we're saying.
Yep. Yeah. Or they just bought new boots wherever they went, Yeah. Kind of the lesson we've learned from chytrid.
What are you talking about?
Well, and I mean, there are some other, diseases out there that could be transmitted if you're grabbing a snake in the wild and then you're grabbing another snake without, disinfecting your hands. You could potentially spread something across. Or I know Eric was talking about how, with the next Carpet Fest, he's not going to do tours of his reptile room because every time they've had a Carpet Fest, he's gotten mites somehow.
Which is crazy.
That boggles the mind, doesn't it?
That's
that people
crazy.
Visiting that keep reptiles are transmitting mites with them to his.
That is.
It's nuts.
That is an.
So even in captivity,
that is a wow of a statement.
There's certain times where you don't go handling the snakes.
Yeah.
So
crazy
disease transmission. Think about it. Right. Well, have we exhausted our arguments for this topic?
I'm spent.
This was a good one.
Spent.
Well, we canceled our Australia trip. So
what?
I'm not going to Australia this summer to look for green tree pythons. The tickets were just not coming down in price. They were like double, triple what we're used to. So it's kind of rough. So I'm curious to see how that impacts tourism. You'd think there'd be some kind of incentive to keep the ticket prices a little bit.
I don't know, man. I just feel like when we have inflationary things, like maybe prices relax a little, but it was like when gasoline was like a dollar or two when I was a kid, like it never ever came back down, it never,
it always goes up.
Food nothing ever gets, after the prices go up, nothing ever really gets cheaper. So it's just like,
well, plane tickets fluctuate, though. I mean, sometimes you can find deals sometimes, but it's hard when you're trying to plan a trip. And so we just called it for this time around. Hopefully, we'll make it over in the fall or something. But.
And you look at Southwest Airlines, like all that debacle that they had with all those U.S. flights,
canceled,
and it's kind of like. Are they going to lower their prices because now they need to update all this infrastructure stuff that they obviously were not, they were kind of
neglecting
not doing. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's just a weird example and it's not, but I don't know, man. It's very frustrating, and you want to go see the world and do things, and
we need this nuclear energy stuff to kick in, so we can have nuclear planes.
It's really interesting that power and stuff like that for a lot of nuclear technologies really have taken a great leap forward in safety and efficiency and the the models we look at are the old, like we look at the Chernobyls and the 3 Mile Islands. And I think if we kind of looked at some of the newer and no energy production is without risk, and certainly nuclear has potential consequences that are a little bit higher, but I mean
with the new studies that are showing fusion is producing energy.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's
how nice would that be?
We'll see. That's a. I mean, they're getting so much closer, but it's still.
We need beaming technology. How nice would that be, just to beam yourself to Australia?
Oh my gosh!
Oh, girl. Yeah, I'm sure they'd find a way to charge through the roof for it.
Oh yeah, no shit.
Yeah,
or you'd end up like Spaceballs, where your ass is, where you're backwards.
Why didn't nobody tell me
my ass was this big? Right?
I love it. Yeah.
So
good stuff.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing, I guess, leading to the next segment of the show. Any interesting things you've heard lately? Alex's Reptiles on Instagram is bringing back Morelia Python. MoreliaPython.com. So I guess the forums are coming back. I'm curious because I said, hey, I'll try to get on there, but I'm just out of the habit of checking forums and posting on forums. So
and dude, I'm not
see if it can be brought back.
I'm not that guy anymore. I got 2 teenagers and hobbies and a mortgage and a job and
as much as I would like to see that,
and a reptile collection, it's going to be tough for me to spend the amount of time. Although I certainly am willing to make an honest effort about it, and but it's just one of those things where I kind of feel like the best magic happens. Magically,
organically,
it's so
I hope trying to bring the rotary phone back or something.
and things move in cycles, and certainly,
but, who knows?
Maybe he's capitalizing at a good time where Facebook is no longer people's preferred. Preferred. I'm on Instagram way more than I ever am on Facebook anymore. So hey, I hope so. That was, if he could pull that hat trick, that would be amazing.
That would be cool. Well, like I said, I'll give it a shot. For
sure.
If I can get on there. Well, anything else?
No. Just I as I said earlier in the podcast, I really enjoyed the Venom Exchange Radio episode with Phil and Nipper, and I'm glad Nipper's okay, and
that was such those pictures of his
so I just
oh crap, because he's coming over to Utah in another month or two.
So and he's a fit dude, and it's just it's not so subtle reminder to people that this stuff is serious. So glad he's okay. A great episode, and I really like how those guys continue to push knowledge and really make a serious thing out of venomous keeping, where we see so many people who, I don't want to say make it blase blah, but you watch how they people who free handle, people who do things that are just not giving the respect that these animals demand. And I think so glad you're okay, Nipper. Sorry that happened, man. And a great a great documentation, and discussion about that event, though, nonetheless.
For sure. All right. Well, this has been another episode. We thank Eric and Owen and the NPR crew and for hosting our little podcast here and letting us fight on their network. And check them out at MoreliaPythonsRadio.com, and we will catch you again in another week or maybe two.
Yeah.
To see, I'm going to be out of town for a bit, but it's just whenever we're back again for another episode.
It's the Libyans! Run for it, Marty!
Fight Club.